Hello, my friends. I am so deeply thrilled that Sacred Earth Journeys has agreed to help me construct for you the trip of my dreams into the depths of the sacred feminine. The reason why I'm so thrilled is twofold. First of all, I get to work with Sacred Earth Journeys, and they are absolutely the best, most professional, most precise, most concerned about the comfort and the well being of participants of any group I've ever worked with, which is why I'm so honored to be continuing to work with them. And the second reason goes to the heart of why I am so honored to present to you this trip, which realizes a dream of a lifetime in a way that I'm going to describe. We, humanity, are now going through, as I'm sure all of you are aware, the most difficult, agonizing, frightening evolutionary crisis of our entire human journey. Everything is exploding, everything is burning, illusions are crashing, and tremendous dangers are appearing absolutely clearly before all of us on the horizon. I have known that this time was coming for 30 years, and my entire work as a mystic, as a teacher, as a writer, has been devoted not only to warning people that this time was coming, but to trying to work out within my own being and within my own understanding and realization drawn from all of the mystical traditions, what is the antidote? What is the way through? What is the way forward? So I, at this time, have never felt more purposeful, more focused, more joyful, more hopeful, because through my own inmost experience, I've understood three very sacred and important things. I've understood that this evolutionary crisis could be our extinction or our transfiguration as human beings. I've understood that this crisis is, in essence, a crisis of the over masculinized human psyche, a psyche that has now identified with the psychotic masculine that is greedy, cruel, insane, and conscienceless, and is clearly wreaking havoc everywhere. And through that understanding, I've understood that the key for all of us, whatever path we are on, whether we're Christians or Buddhists or Hindus or shamans or Wiccans, or if we're on no path at all, but a longing for a deep spiritual connection and a deep spiritual truth, is to reimagine in the deepest sense what ancient mystics have called the sacred marriage, the marriage of opposites that is the divine, the marriage of transcendence and immanence, of the great light that's creating everything, and of the embodied creation of the father and of the mother, and of the masculine and feminine within ourselves, and of heart and mind, soul and body. This great vision of the sacred marriage has been known in all of the mystical traditions, but it has been watered down by patriarchal exaggeration on transcendence, by sex hatred, by body hatred, and by denial of the glory that lives in and as the creation. And the key for me for 40 years has been to turn as far as I can with the whole of my being, heart, mind, soul, and body, to the divine feminine, to the divine mother, to the mother side of God, to help me attune my real sacred masculine to its true strength, which lies not in ravaging and despoiling and becoming a billionaire and being famous, but in majesty of presence and in adoration of the feminine that guards, creates, sustains, nourishes life. And during my exploration of all of the mystical systems which I've been privileged to be introduced to and initiated into, I've discovered that they all at their heart have a vision of what I call sacred androgyny. And what this means is that every human being, with your male or female, gay or straight or transgender or pansexual, whatever the hell or heaven you are, is invited by being born human with original divine consciousness to bring together the sacred masculine and the sacred feminine within themselves, the transcendent and the immanent, heart and mind, soul and body. And through grace and through working on that marriage within ourselves, what happens is that we eventually, and this is what is so astounding and what is actually beginning to happen in me and in so many other people I know, we begin to be a new kind of being, a sacred androgyne who is both masculine and feminine and neither, both male and female and neither, heart, mind, soul, body, increasingly one glowing, humble, radiant force of empowered presence. This vision has been known, as I said, in the great depths of all of the mystical traditions, and I have found it there. But it's especially potent at the heart of Christianity. And one of the reasons why Christianity hasn't given birth to this vision is because the patriarchal evolution of the church denied the feminine in Jesus, denied his body and his sexuality as essential parts of his glorious human divine nature, and so denied us access to this, and denied too that Mary was not just a wonderful holy woman who gave birth to Jesus, but the embodied divine mother, the creation and the universe, the embodied creation in a woman, and denied, of course, and this is what has been so tragic, and which I've devoted the last 3 years to writing a book about called The Magdalene Revolution, which is going to come out in February next year. Denied Mary Magdalene and called her just a reformed prostitute and someone who was saved by Jesus, instead of identifying her as she is obviously in the Gospels, if you read them properly, and reveals herself in the Gnostic Gospels, which were discovered in 1945, as not just a healed and transformed person who was crazy and dark, but found Jesus and got transformed, but as his appointed, ordained consort, as his wife, as his partner in the sacred marriage that is at the heart of the birth of authentic Christ consciousness. So it's wild, but it's wonderful. And it promises a wholly new Christianity, a wholly new Christ path, which is the one that I'm on, although I have learned from and am honored to have been initiated into all of the major mystical traditions. And I'm on it because for me, Jesus and Mary Magdalene and Mary the Mother birthed the path that the world most needs, whatever religion you're from, which is a path of divine love, divine truth, divine knowledge in wise, focused, radical, urgent action together to save humanity from its destructiveness, to preserve nature, honor the animal creation, and help birth with God a new embodied divine humanity, which is capable of bringing justice and active compassion to every single person and every single being on the planet. And what I believe is happening, what I know in my heart, because it's been revealed to me both through my own dark night and through what I've understood about evolutionary creativity and progress, is that this terrible crisis is the destined birthing ground of that new humanity, that new creation, and that new possibility. If only, if only, if only we can turn in full faith and humility to the divine feminine. There can be no marriage of the real masculine with the real feminine if the feminine is kept in a cellar with sellotape around her mouth and bound to a creaking chair. She has to come back in her full beauty and glory and ferocity and truth and generosity and passion and naked appeal to all human beings to get real about suffering and poverty and injustice and animal cruelty and terrible stupidity, so that we can transform ourselves and become agents of this new birth instead of agents of the destruction that is trying so desperately to abort it. Sorry to go on, but it's so important that if you want to come on this glorious trip, that you have a sense of why it's not only a wonderful trip, it's actually at the essence of what is being asked of all of us at this moment, to become warrior midwives of the sacred marriage through turning to the divine feminine and being instructed and saved and redeemed and transformed and exhilarated and empowered by her on every level of our mind, in every aspect of our heart, in the depths of the cells and bones and muscles of our body, and of course, in the radiant depths of our soul, so that we can become one with the Father, Mother, unite the masculine and the feminine within ourselves, and step up at this time joyfully to play our part in the great plan of God to birth a new possibility on this earth. So that's why it gives me such joy to invite all of you who are beginning to see this or who have seen this already on this trip, because it's been perfectly constructed, as far as I am able, to give you the deepest possible immersion into the depths of the meaning of the sacred marriage, into the truth of the real Jesus who came not to create another church or another religion. Oh my God, we've had enough of those, but to give humanity a direct message of humanity's own divinity. Jesus's message is not about worshiping him. It's about seeing what is possible for us to be like. If we claim our original divine consciousness and have the guts and the passion and the compassion to risk everything to put them into practice, he came to reveal our own possibilities of unique Christhood in terms of our own personalities and sexualities and truth. And he was accompanied in the embodied Trinity by his divine embodied mother, Mary, and by his divine embodied consort, Mary Magdalene. So what I've done in this trip is to lay down a pilgrimage in stages that will help you understand and be initiated into and integrate this astounding set of truths into the very natural core of your being. And that's why I want to send out an invitation to all of you who are listening, especially those who are already in whatever path you are on, attuned to the divine feminine, and especially those of you, and I know you're out there, who have been deeply in love with Mary Magdalene and aware that her restoration to the heart of Christ consciousness is the single most important adventure in Western mysticism at this moment. An adventure that I've just taken and narrowly survived, but I'm here to say is the most astounding imaginable and most empowering imaginable revelation. Already signed up onto the trip are several visionary healers and lovers of the Magdalene, whom I know personally, who have glowing pieces of the new force of divine feminine truth that's coming through her. What I've discovered on my own journey into the Mary Magdalene mystery, which I'm calling the Magdalene Revolution, I thought, why not drop a bomb, just do it. I discovered that She's so vast, and her return, this Pentecost, if you like, of Mary Magdalene, that was timed to happen now, 2,000 years after Jesus's Pentecost, when the world is absolutely desperate for the true feminine and also ready to hear it. This Pentecost is gathering together all kinds of true visionaries, men and women, all of whom have a piece. I have been through 3 years of intense struggle and agony and ecstasy and bewilderment to bring my piece. But on this trip, there are others who have their piece, which is directly consonant with the one that I brought in. So I want to invite all of you who are visionaries and who are mystics and who love her to come on this trip to meet your friends, your brothers and sisters, so that together in this time of the Pentecost of Mary Magdalene, as part of this embodied trinity of Jesus and Mother and Divine Woman that is bringing in the new humanity, I invite you to come and learn from the rest of us and teach the rest of us so that this pilgrimage can be its own luminous, glorious, sacred contribution in this Pentecost and can be unforgettable for every single person who comes to it. So let me just sketch out for you how I'm going to try and give you the absolute essence of 40 years of deep inner experience and mystical revelation and writing and teaching all over the world, aspects of this which are now ready to be brought together in this time which needs it like oxygen and needs it like the antidote on every level to the appalling psychotic reign of the demented masculine, which is doomed to self-destruct and could very well take the whole of humanity with it and a great deal of nature, but which I believe is not going to do so because it's going to activate the very radiant resistance that it has activated in me and so many others, in millions of people, if the vision to inspire them is given in the right, deep, practical, no nonsense, absolutely clear way, which is the duty of the teachers and the lovers of the feminine to present. We're going to start in Paris. Paris, as you know, is a city devoted to the sacred feminine, built on a curve of the Seine, and has, in all of its monuments of all of its ages, concentrated on the divine feminine. Notre Dame is at its center. If you look at the 19th century decorations on the Pont Alexandre, they're of divine women. And of course, the celebration of women and sensuality and deep love of the art of living that has always characterized the French genius, that too is a revelation of the feminine. And when you look at Parisian architecture, you'll see the Parisian architecture, and I had the glories, luck and grace to live in Paris for 10 years in my 30s, you see that it is the most beautiful and precise marriage of masculine rigor and clarity and feminine beauty and texture. It's a representation in itself of the sacred marriage. So, in that great holy mandala of the sacred marriage that is so saturated with sacred feminine that is Paris, we're going to start in Paris by going to each one of the three aspects of the divine feminine that we're going to be integrating together. We're going to go first to the Rue du Bac. Oh my God, when you get to the Rue du Bac, to the chapel in which Catherine Labouré saw the Virgin in 1830, which began the series of apparitions of the Virgin all over the world that have continued to Medjugorje, when you get to that chapel and you sit in the atmosphere of that great vision in which the Virgin gave the sacred medallion, the miraculous medallion, the design of it, to Catherine Labouré, and forever transformed Catherine's life and transformed the church, began to transform the church's attitude to the motherhood of God. you will feel her universal, passionate compassion, because you'll be surrounded by people from all over the world, by Koreans and Japanese and Chinese and Indians, Black people and purple people and white people and gay people. And I came to that chapel in the most desperate time of my life, when I was going through a long and agonizing dark night. And I'd just begun to suspect the depths of Mary's true nature. And I went every single day to get the strength to endure what I was going through. And in that chapel, I found the beginnings of a new life, not intellectually, but viscerally. And I want to share that with you to bless our whole journey. Then I'm going to take you to a little chapel on the outside of Paris, the outskirts, in which you will see the most powerful secret Black Madonna in France, with the one that we're going to see in Rocamadour. And this particular Black Madonna, the Madonna of Holy Deliverance, is the Black Madonna that was worshipped for 1,000 years before it had to be taken into seclusion during the French Revolution. It was the Black Madonna before whom Louis XII prostrated himself in black and offered the whole of France to. It is the Black Madonna that has haunted the mystical imagination of all the great French mystics. And seeing her in this new, sweet, beautiful Baroque chapel, absolutely radiant, will be a marvelous moment for us to connect with her fierce love and her fierce protection and her fierce challenge to us to become who we really are, the servants of divine love and knowledge in action. And then we'll go to the Madeleine and see the church dedicated to Mary Magdalene, and we will go to Montmartre, and we will begin to feel who she really is in this embodied Trinity, the divine woman, the full woman, emotionally, mentally, physically, sexually, absolutely radiant with divine love and power, flanking Jesus, helping Jesus, teaching Jesus, completing Jesus. Mother, brother, sister, mother, man, woman, the complete embodied Trinity. So that we'll be initiated at the beginning to the three streams that actually come together and intertwine with each other throughout the pilgrimage. Then we'll go to Vézelay, where Mary Magdalene was said to have been buried. I don't think she was buried there, but they believed it. And of course, Vézelay is one of the most extraordinary cathedrals you'll ever see, the most beautiful of all of the Romanesque cathedrals, itself a sacred marriage of absolute clarity and beautiful structure, with this glorious gray stone and this ineffable, holy, simple, clear, vibrant atmosphere, even now, especially now. We'll celebrate Mary Magdalene there, where she was loved and celebrated for so many centuries. Then we'll go down to La Salette. And La Salette is the second place of apparitions that we will visit. She came in the middle of Paris to inaugurate the apparitions, and then Mary appeared as the embodied Divine Mother to two peasant children on a mountain in La Salette, and gave what is the fiercest message she ever gave until the ones that she's been given in Medjugorje. Fundamentally, at La Salette, she said the world is going towards absolute violence and chaos unless you turn to the Mother, unless you really simply do my prayer and pray to me, so that you can be given the strength and the wisdom to steer through this chaos. And so we'll experience La Salette, which is an absolutely extraordinary sight. It's the Mother appearing in the naked mountain, in the nakedness of nature, as nature's clear, fierce voice, demanding respect, demanding protection, demanding and offering transformation. Then we will plunge is the right word, into the heart of the south of France territory, which is where Mary Magdalene came after the crucifixion. I think this is certain. I don't think this is a legend. I think it's too much evidence is there that this was real, where she lived for the last 35 years of her life, initially preaching and healing as her own embodied Christ woman after the resurrection, in which she appeared with Jesus in the resurrection garden as the new Eve to his new Adam, because they had been working together, as you'll see when I try to present the essential messages of my book, on what happened there. And she came to the south of France and she lived a very passionate life of preaching and healing on a massive scale and gave teachings and probably began her own gospel, which has recently been published, called The Beloved Companion, which is a completely astonishing document in which she gives an absolutely clear path to the embodiment of the feminine aspect in Christ, which is, of course, what she embodied. She was both male and female, but she came in as a woman to do that tremendous work. And then we'll go to Saint-Marie-des-Mers, where she landed, where there's an ancient church, which is the central church of the Gypsies, who worship the Black Madonna as Sarah in the crypt. And that is an extraordinary experience in its own. But the most sacred way of coming into connection with the work that Mary Magdalene was and is doing is what we will do for long stretches of deep meditative time. And I'll try and really give you the teachings as I've received them from her. The cave, the cave, the cave, the cave, where she spent the last 30 years of her life in silence, in rapturous communion with the hearts of nature, in that cave that is a womb, doing what I believe she was doing, and many Magdalene mystics know she was doing, which was marrying the light that had exploded in the resurrection, the new light of the new creation, to the depths of the cells and the muscles and the bones of her own being, and becoming with Jesus the mother of a whole new stream of transfiguration that is now offered to everyone on the planet. The transfiguration meaning the transformation at the deepest level of the whole being into divine presence, the transfiguration of the mind, the transfiguration of the heart, the transfiguration of the body into a new divine human, just as Jesus was and is, and just as Mary Magdalene and is. This is wild and wonderful. And the whole of my book, The Magdalene Revolution, came from an experience that I first had at the cave when I visited it in 2003. I went in, I felt the enormous holy presence of Magdalene, the joy, the great depths of the cave itself, the kind of massive birthing energy that is being emanated by that cave, that has been emanated by that cave for millennia, which she identified with and worked on with the light of the new creation. And then I read what the Catholic Church had put up about it, which is that all she was doing there was being very penitent and about her miserable past life and hoping for redemption. But she got there because angels lifted her up. So, I mean, they did agree that she got somewhere in that cave. But I was so angry at that rubbish because I felt such an overwhelming connection with what I was beginning to intuit might be the truth, that I went down, I left, and I walking down the valley neath the cave and decided just to look back at it. And when I looked back, I saw her for 2 seconds, and it was her, and she was there standing with this golden light all around her like a burning moth surrounded by these great golden wings of light. And I was completely flabbergasted and changed forever and frightened, because I knew that I had been given something infinitely precious, but it took me 20 years to feel adequate in what I'd gone through and what I'd begun to understand, to turn and describe what flowed from that 2 seconds of seeing her outside that cave. So when we get into the depths of the south of France and into the atmosphere of the real Magdalene, the divine woman, the wife of Jesus, the co-conspirator, the co-mother of the resurrection, and everything that flows from it, I am hoping to introduce you to the practices that I have been introduced to by her, and to introduce you to others in our group who also have their own great understandings of precisely this process from different angles, so that you will get simply, precisely, and very down homely, because this revelation, although it's very exalted, is also dead simple and in the core of ordinary life, so that you will know yourself the truths that we are beginning to know and share in this great Pentecost of the return of the divine woman to the embodied Trinity of Mother, Jesus, and Mary Magdalene. And then we will go to Rocamadour. And Rocamadour, you will discover, is in an extraordinarily beautiful part of France, and it's an old medieval village, and it's extremely holy because it was the site of a pilgrimage for over 1,000 years to the Black Madonna figure that's in a particular chapel, actually under a kind of overhang of rock, rather like the womb cave of Mary Magdalene. And it's simply the most powerful image of the grandeur and ferocity and majesty of the dark feminine that exists on earth. It is profoundly awe-inspiring. And when I first saw it, it nearly killed me with its power. It was something I had no preparation for. And I was so overwhelmed with awe and rapture that I have gone back many times, and I'm so looking forward to you experiencing the same thing. And there I will give what teachings have come to me from my exploration of all the understandings of the dark feminine in all the major traditions, which I feel are concentrated for us Westerners through the Black Madonna, that has been the secret other face of Mary. The only thing I've failed to mention is that, of course, we're also going to Chartres. How could you forget Chartres? But I'm so exhilarated to be able to present this to you. We're going to go to Chartres after Paris, so that in Chartres, too, you can experience the next level of the three aspects of the feminine that we are initiated to into Paris, because Chartres is dedicated, of course, to the Mary as Divine Mother. They didn't say she was the complete embodied Divine Mother, but it's quite clear in Chartres, when you're in Chartres, that they knew. And one of the things that I've done in my life, which I'm happiest about, is to be one of the co-founders with Jim Garrison of the Chartres Mystery School. We revived the Chartres Mystery School that was begun by Fulbert in the 10th century, and it mysteriously faded out, but actually understood the sacred marriage at the most profound level, and was instrumental in creating the first cathedral, of which the new cathedral is the second. It's had 17 years of meeting, and it's about to, I think, no, it's more than that. It's 21 years. And it's going to end its third cycle, probably its last next year, in a celebration of Mary Magdalene, which I hope to be part of. And in these 20 years, we have revived the fundamental universal principles of that ancient mystery school, and we followed its syllabus, but we've lifted it up into relevance for now, and it's been the most thrilling experience. And I talked a bit about that, but most of all, I will take you into the cathedral and give you the vision that's come to me of the cathedral as a great resurrection machine, with Mary there, the Black Madonna to the side and in the crypt, fueling this tremendous power, and of course the great Magdalene window. So Chartres itself will be a very initiating place and give us everything that we need. Go deeper and deeper and deeper on the journey that I've just described. I hope I've been able to convey to you my excitement at this trip. I hope I've been able to convey to you the importance of taking a trip like this at this very intense evolutionary moment. I hope I've conveyed to you what you yourself, whether you're male or female or gay or straight or Chinese or black or white, will get from it, which is a real initiation into the sacred marriage and a real initiation into the divine feminine's power to transmute you from being a human being into being your own humble, playful, ragged, passionate, joyful, divine human being, gathering with other divine human beings in a tremendous, joyful effort to birth a new birth. And I hope I've conveyed to you what my deepest dream for this pilgrimage is, which is that all of the lovers of the Magdalene who have a deep understanding through inmost experience of her can come together in it. All of the lovers of the real Jesus who know that he is the sacred androgyne that fuses the deepest masculine with the deepest feminine can come together. And all real lovers of Mary who know that she is not just this amazing woman who was his mother, but in fact the embodied divine mother, the human, poignant, unforgettably brave, and revolutionary face of the eternal, universal divine mother turned towards humanity at this time of immense crisis. I hope that all of the lovers of the feminine in all these ways will come together on this pilgrimage at the time of the Pentecost of Mary Magdalene, when she is returning through the heroic work of many, many great pioneering women like Cynthia Bourgeot, who wrote the most magnificent book and has inspired all of us, through my work, through the work of so many women, so many men, and so many of you, is returning now to claim her full place so that we, at the time we need it most, can have a full and fully transformative vision of radiant embodiment of the one to live by, to work with, and to give us joy and stamina and purpose to turn up at this terrible time, knowing that it is the birth canal of a new humanity and a new creation, and prepared to do everything we can to be warrior midwives of the birth of a new humanity and a new world. So please come with me and revel in the beauty of Paris and of the French countryside and the French way of life that is such a beautiful marriage of masculine and feminine, and in the gorgeous beauty of the architecture and in the sensuous vibrancy of the landscape, and have a complete experience and see what happens. It will be wonderful. Thank you.